Hey, house guests, welcome to today's BBCan 10 updates and spoilers. Happy Tuesday. Hope you're all having a great day so far, and thank you for being here. Our house guests of the day are Janie B and Isaac Benjamin Songquist. Thank you both so much for the support. We could not do this without you, and we appreciate it so much. So thank you again. And if you guys want to be house guests of the day, check out our Patreon link in the info box below. It's only $1 for a holla. It's a great deal. I also want to thank yesterday's super chatters because that is another fantastic way to support our channel. So NM1000 and Jefferson Tucker, thank you so much. And I see Jefferson's back for more. Thank you. He says, oh, hi, to be continued, right? We got a lot to discuss today. I'm freaking exhausted from these feeds. These house guests are just going a mile a minute. Like, can we take a break, please? Can we have an easy day? Is that too much to ask? But when we left off yesterday, they had the power veto ceremony. Kevin used the power veto on Josh, and Marty put up Herman in his place. Yes, it was a blindside. We've got Herman versus Betty up on the block. So I gotta say, Herman keeping a really positive attitude since going up on the block. He is planning on getting those votes and then targeting Marty next week. Oh. So it wasn't looking good for Herman right off the bat, but he got to work quickly. He didn't waste any time. So Herman was chatting with Summer in the red bedroom, and the beginning of this conversation wasn't on feeds, but they were talking about how a bunch of house guests are going to be targeting Marty next week. Josh, Moose, Gino, JC Lynn, like Marty really showed his ass this week, and people are not happy with him. So Herman says he feels like it's really going to take the whole house working together to get Marty out, right? And it's probably going to have to be a backdoor. So he's like, wouldn't you rather have me going after Marty than Betty? Like, Betty's wonderful, but let's face it, one of us has won more competitions than the other. So Herman is like a little bit surprised that he's having to campaign this much to Summer in the first place. They've had like this little flirtmance thing going together, but also like they've, been working in a few different alliances together. So he wasn't expecting this, but Summer's like, you still have time. I don't want you to hate me. So it's definitely seeming like at that point, Summer is leaning more towards keeping Betty, who she's also been working with. Summer says she has to factor everything into her decision. She's really worried that people are going to be linking them as a showmance, and she's going to end up on the block next to him. And Herman's like, no, like there's so many other targets in the house. Nobody is going to be focused on that. There's so many other people to take off or to take out. So Herman says he feels like Summer is already dead set on her decision, as in she's going to keep Betty. And Summer says she's not. But at this point, she sees more benefits to keeping Betty. She says, Betty is pretty much a guaranteed jury vote for me. Betty has said to a lot of different people, she's only going to vote for a woman in the final two, unless there is no woman in the final two. But she wants a woman to win this season. And Herman says, yeah, but the goal is to get to the final two. And I feel like I can help you get there. I can be a shield for you. I can win competitions for you. Betty is not going to get you there. And if you're up on the block next to Betty at some point, people are going to keep Betty over you because they know that they can beat her in competitions. It might be a little more difficult to beat you. So Summer's like, but there's this thing, like, you did not pass my loyalty test. Summer has learned some information recently that's really making her wary of Herman. She's not really sure if she can completely trust him because she found out that Marty told Herman at one point that he would be putting Summer and Betty up on the block. And Herman kept this information to himself. He didn't share it with Summer because he didn't want this getting back to Marty. Marty and Herman were trying to build something back up together at that point. But then once like shit hit the fan and all this other stuff happened, Marty spilled to Summer, hey, I told Herman that I would put up you and Betty, and like Herman knew about that. So Summer was not happy upon hearing that Herman did not bring this information to her when he could have. I hope that wasn't too complicated. But Summer also brings up, we haven't really been having as many game talks as we used to. Uh-oh. So then Summer asks Herman, do you consider me a floater? I feel like floater has really become like a dirty word in the Big Brother world, but it's really not. Like when you think about the correct definition of a floater, it's somebody that like floats in between alliances, like floats to power or whatever. Maybe it's not like the most honorable game or whatever, but I feel like, again, a lot of people confuse a floater game with like a coaster game. A coaster is somebody who just coasts through the game without really doing anything. They're not winning competitions. They are not making things happen behind the scenes. They're not pulling strings or playing a social game. So I think Summer is equating a floater here with a coaster. So she's asking, like, do you think that I'm that? And Herman says, no, I don't think you're a floater. I think socially you've influenced some of the biggest moves in this house. And I think you're positioned really well here. Again, it sounds like she's playing a floater game, which is perfectly acceptable. But anyway, Herman makes it known. He's telling Summer, like, I would be willing to target the showmans. I don't want you to think that I wouldn't. They're not off limits for me. So he's saying, I want to win competitions. I want to keep my people safe. Don't give Marty what he wants on his HOH. He wants me to go. Take the power back from that effing psycho. And yes, Herman actually said that. I gotta say, like, this is a really great angle for Herman to push. We've seen it already this season. If people feel like an HOH gets too big for their britches, they're going to want to do the opposite of what the HOH wants. They're going to want to blindside that HOH and humble them. So this is another opportunity to do something like that. So yeah, I mean, push that Marty wants you to go and you don't want to do what Marty wants. So Herman is saying, let me stay, let me go for his head next week. So Summer's like, all right, well, what votes do you think you could have? Because you need 4 to stay this week. So Herman's thinking he could possibly get like everyone, except obviously not Kevin and Helena, because they're super tight with Marty. He's not really sure about Josh. Josh is in a really difficult position this week. You know, Josh and Herman have a final too, but Josh is also extremely close to Betty, and everybody knows that. So Herman feels like even with those 3 not happening, or 2 of those not happening, 1 maybe, he could still have the votes to stay. So Herman brings up how Marty said he put him up on the block because Herman admitted he would put up Kevin and Helena if he won HOH. And Marty was all like, those are my 2 closest allies. So Summer wants to know, where do I rank in your game? Because I don't feel like I'm really at the top. So Herman says, well, you and Josh are pretty much on the same level. I don't know that I believe that. I mean, maybe now that he wants her vote, but I remember Herman wanting to cut ties with Summer just like last week because he was like, Summer's never going to win a competition. I don't want to work with her. But now all of a sudden, she's equal with Josh. Okay. And then he says Moose after them and then Gino. So Herman tells her, keep thinking about it. She says she will. She does. Also, Herman brings up Marty has broken every deal he's ever made. What makes you think he's going to honor any deal that he's made with you? Right? Marty just wants your vote at this point. You know, that's why he's trying to make deals. So Summer says, all right, well, if you can get 3 votes, we could do something here. So she's starting to change her tune. All right. Meanwhile, Betty is chatting with Josh in the beach room, and this conversation was kind of awkward because Betty caught Josh in a lie. He had told her that he didn't know Herman was going up on the block as the replacement nominee, and Betty found out what do you know? From Marty that Josh did in fact know. And oops, this is not the first time that Betty has caught Josh withholding information from her. And guess what? It involved Marty last time too. So that's gotta make Betty nervous, right? Like, how close is Josh actually to Marty that he's like hiding all this information that involves him? So Josh says, no, Marty's just trying to pit us against each other. I was afraid that if I spilled that info to you and it got back to Marty, that Marty would change up the plan. So he feels like Marty is really playing mind games with him. I mean, it's big brother, right? But they end up kind of like laughing about Josh lying to Betty. He says he was embarrassed, and Betty's like, all right, we're supposed to be a team. I just want to make sure that we have each other's backs, because if we don't have trust, we don't have anything, right? So then they talk about the vote. Betty is getting a little bit nervous because she knows that Herman has already been hitting that campaign trail. And Josh shares that Summer asked him, what are we doing? Are we keeping Betty? And Betty is like, whoa, she asked that? Like, why is it even a question? What's going on here? So she's definitely weirded out by that. Josh is trying to make her feel better, saying like, no, I think it's going to be almost unanimous for you to stay. Maybe just like Moose would vote for you to go because he's close to Herman. I don't know about that. I don't know about that almost unanimous vote. But Summer and Moose are chatting in the red bedroom, and they are talking about the vote. And Summer says, I made a deal with Marty this week that, you know, if he kept me off the block, I would vote the way that he wants. I'd keep him safe next week, yada, yada, yada. And Moose says, yeah, I made a deal with him too. I think a lot of people did. And Summer says, as much as I want to keep Betty around, Marty would probably backstab me like he backstabbed Gino. You know, I don't know if this deal is worth it. Marty is too unstable. That's a relationship that I might have to cut. So Moose confirms, yes, Marty has talked about putting Summer up on the block for sure. So Moose says he's working on a plan to get Gino and JC Lynn's votes for Herman to stay this week. Moose is firmly in the camp of let's keep Herman around. So Moose is also still not sure if Betty has a secret power. She does not. She does not have a secret power. But he's also like, I got to figure out like some contingency plans just in case that comes up and like she comes off the block or something. She does not have a secret power. But anyway, Summer admits she's leaning towards keeping Herman. So that's 2 votes possibly for Herman right there out of the 4 that he needs. So then the feeds went down for a while the episode was airing last night. And when they came back, Summer was talking to Herman out by the hot tub, and Summer confirms she wants to keep Herman this week. And she says, it's not that I doubt Betty or her skills, but let's face it, Herman has won more competitions. And she says, I need people to win and protect me against Marty. So Herman is thrilled to hear this. Once he's on his own, he's all like, are you not entertained? And he says Marty is not the king in the house. Okay, I was waiting for the I am. Anybody know that like bowling reference? Who do you think you are? I am Pete Weber. Look it up. Anyway, okay, meanwhile, Gino and JC Lynn are chatting in the purple bedroom. And JC Lynn says, Herman really laid it down. He made a great pitch. So that pitch must have happened while the feeds were down for the episode because we didn't get to see it. But JC Lynn says, Herman really gave me a bunch of examples about how manipulative Marty is. And one of them was the issue with Summer and her not being happy with Herman, that he kept info from her. Blah, 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 blah. We've already talked about it. So JC Lynn says Marty is just using us to keep him safe on the weeks that he can't play for HOH. He is going to take Kevin and Helena all the way. I mean, we already saw what happened with the safety chain. Marty chose to keep Helena safe instead of either of us. Also, Marty has been telling people that Herman is up on the block because he is super close to Helena and Kevin. And also, Marty's been telling people straight up that he has a final 2 deal with Helena. So yeah, they're not feeling great about Marty right now. JC Lynn says Marty's going to cut us when he gets the chance. I mean, he did try to vote out Gino a few days ago. So what more evidence do you need? But Gino says, yeah, I want to backdoor Marty next week if I win HOH. Can you imagine if Gino ended up taking out Kyle and Marty? That'd be absolutely wild. But JC Lynn is, focusing back on this week. She says, I think that we should keep Herman. He's targeting Marty. He's getting competitions. And, if you look at Betty, she's really close with Josh. That could be dangerous. It could be good for us to split up that duo. So JC Lynn also brings up an interesting point. Taking out Herman would be a huge resume builder for Marty. And she's like, we can't let him have that. Ah! Okay. So JC Lynn is asking, can we get further in this game working with Herman than we could with Marty, Kevin, and Helena? Because if they make this move and go against Marty's wishes, they're also thinking they want to target Kevin and Helena after that, right? They don't want to continue to work with them if that would even be a possibility. So JC Lynn says, I think we can pull in Josh once Betty is gone. And Gino says, yeah, I think that makes sense. Gino a lot of times reminds me of that Pete Davidson SNL character, Chad, where he's just like, okay. Like, he just does whatever anybody tells him. It's wild. But it sounds like these two are ready to flip. JC Lynn says she's tired of tiptoeing around Marty. And Gino again is saying he wants to win the next HOH, take Marty out. And JC Lynn also brings up the revenge factor here. They are still feeling the sting of being left out of that 9-2 vote when they voted to evict Josh and everybody else voted the other way. So yeah, they're saying, like, wouldn't that be amazing to flip the vote on Marty like he did to us, make him feel the way that we felt? Okay, so we'll see what happens there. But that would be 4 votes, if it was Gino, JC Lynn, Summer, and Moose. 4 votes to keep her on. Okay. So a little later, Summer is chatting with Josh in the red bedroom, and Summer admits she is leaning towards keeping Herman. She says, we're going to need a strong team moving forward. Is Josh going to spill this information to Betty and or the Rat Pack Crash Test Dummies Alliance? Or is he going to keep this to himself? Because he does tend to do that a lot. But Josh is asking Summer, what do you think Gino and JC Lynn are going to do? And Summer says they're probably also going to keep Herman. And Josh is counting up those votes because he's like, oh yeah, Moose probably will too. So like, that's 4. So Summer says Gino and JC Lynn want to work with us, but Betty is in the way of that right now. Everybody sees how close Betty and Josh are, so they're worried, like, if you pull Josh into something, Betty's going to know all your info too. Okay, so Summer is talking about her eviction order. She wants to get rid of Marty next week, then Kevin, and then Helena. And Summer says, I just want to go to the end with you, Josh. You're getting rid of, like, his whole alliance. So Josh, during this conversation, is just doing his usual of going with the flow and saying whatever the person he's talking to wants to hear. So it's really difficult to figure out where Josh's loyalties truly lie at that point. I don't know what he's thinking for this week, what he's thinking for the future. I don't know. But eventually, Gino joins them, and they all talk about the possibility of finally bringing that Honey Bunch alliance back together. They've been talking about it for a few weeks now. It was kind of on the back burner again. It's back. Maybe. So the Honey Bunch alliance was Summer, Josh, Gino, and JC Lynn. They were the first 4 people to enter the Big Brother house, and that alliance, was it ever really anything? Not really. But they were also talking about targeting Marty next week, of course, like everybody's talking about that. This week really showed his cards. And they also discussed keeping this vote a blindside. Not so much for Betty or like to be anything against Betty, but more to get back at Marty. So, yeah, they're like, we can't tell Helena or Kevin what's going on with this vote because they're just henchmen for Marty at this point. Okay, so then Betty pulls Summer aside to chat, and this conversation was so awkward. Betty knows already that Summer is wavering on her vote, right? She heard this from Josh. She can tell the vibe is off. So Betty is asking, like, has Herman pitched to you? Like, how was it? And Summer admits Herman is making a really good pitch. So then Betty is talking about how loyal she's been to Summer and how loyal she will continue to be. And Summer says, I get that, but I have to consider all options here. Betty brings up that Summer seemed more locked in earlier in the day. She doesn't know what happened here. She's saying again, like, Herman must have made a really strong pitch for you to be saying all this now. And Betty says, my actions have always shown that I'm with you. I don't have any deals with anyone else. And I mean, what does Betty have going on besides like the remnants of the Mandems alliance and like her being close to Josh? Like, she doesn't really have any other big alliances, right? So Summer says, I got to vote the way that Marty wants so that he won't come after me. So, like, yeah, you're going to have my vote. But, like, she's lying. And she's being so weird about it, too. She's keeping Betty in the dark about this vote for sure. But, like, she's also not playing it off that great. So Betty knows that something is up. And Betty says, I don't want you to feel like you're obligated to vote a certain way. I picked you in the chain of safety because I want to work with you. So then Betty is talking about how they have to break up that boys club, right? You're not a priority for them. you're not going to be able to get in there. So you're better off keeping me around. So Summer says, again, like, she's leaning towards keeping Betty because she doesn't want Marty to target her. But she's also saying that she's got to think about everything. So Betty is not getting the warm and fuzzies from this conversation. She knows that the vibe is off here. So then Summer like asks Betty not to tell Marty about this conversation and how Summer still has to think about things. Oh my God. Because Marty is under the impression that Summer is just going to vote however he wants. So this is like really awkward to say to Betty, who you're thinking about possibly voting out. So Betty's like, well, I'm not going to like tell him I wouldn't do that to you, but also he's going to notice it when I go home. And Betty says, if you're not going to vote for me, I need to see if I can get other votes. I'm going to have to see what other channels I can pursue to get votes. I need to think about me here. Yes, that is true. So after the conversation, Betty is freaked out. She's like, what is going on here? Because like Herman, she also felt like she wasn't going to have to work this hard for Summer's vote. Summer's got two close allies up on the block right now. So by the end of last night, it seemed like the vote was definitely leaning towards Herman staying. But this is important. Betty let Kevin know that she's feeling worried about these votes. She's not sure what Summer's doing. She's not getting a good feeling. So Kevin said he's going to put in the work for her and he's going to make sure that this is a landslide vote, like 6-1 or something like that. So today, Helena and Kevin have a check-in outside by the hot tub. And Kevin says, I don't think this vote's going to flip. I don't really think we have that much to worry about. But he feels like Josh does need to be more vocal that he's keeping Betty this week. They're annoyed that Marty kind of spilled the beans this week, that they're close with him. They didn't need that getting out there. They're feeling like it's really putting some targets on their back, and they are correct. But Kevin says, we should probably try and make a Final Four deal with Gino and Jason. We got to make sure that they're with us and they're not going to flip their votes this week. But like, are Kevin and Helena actually serious about this Final Four deal? Because I think that's a mistake if they are. What happened to the energy of we need to split up the showmans immediately? Like, that was supposed to be the plan for next week, and now they don't seem too concerned about it. They want to go to the Final Four with them? Like, what? They were also talking about if they win HOH, putting up Summer and Betty and then backdooring Moose. What? Why are your targets shifting like this? Like, what is going on here? But Kevin says, no matter what, we need to start winning HOH. We need to be able to make some moves here instead of being in like self-preservation mode. So Kevin says he's really going to be working on getting in Summer's head today because he knows through Betty that Summer is wavering on her vote. So Kevin seems pretty confident that he can get the votes to evict Herman. We'll see. I don't know. I truly don't know. But in other news, Betty has been putting in work on the campaign trail today. It's hard to tell if it's changing people's minds or not. There's been a lot of waffling today. So we'll see. But this is getting extremely messy. Summer was talking to Herman at one point, and they were like cuddled up in the red bedroom, being all like flirt-mancy. And Summer admits that she's starting to think again, maybe it would be better for my game to keep Betty. Don't hate me. Ugh. So Herman's like, what is going on with you? She is not better for your game than I would be. And Summer says, Betty made a really good pitch. She is more loyal to me than you are. And Herman says, she's not. You're losing sight of how much game there is left to play. You need to be able to win to get to the end, or work with people that are winning so that you can get to the end. And Summer's worried that people are going to see her and Herman as a duo. They're going to end up on the block together. And Herman's like, oh, this is going to be the longest 2 days until this eviction. For real, though. This flip-flopping has been exhausting already. I can't imagine 2 more days in a row like this. I'm not going to make it. But Herman is going into his pitch again for Summer. I'll be a shield for you. I'm a bigger target than Betty. I'll be able to get you further into this game, yada, yada, yada. Meanwhile, JC, Lynn, and Gino are also having doubts now. They're wondering, if we keep Herman, are we going to regret it later on? Moose has been going to bat, campaigning for Herman to stay. And that's making JC, Lynn, and Gino a little bit nervous. Like, wow, Moose and Herman are pretty tight. That's not great for us. What are the chances that those two would keep us over each other? So they're not feeling great about it. Gino wants more time to think about it. They were really fired up before about potentially going against what Marty wants, but they're wondering, like, is that the best move for our games? So it's all up in the air right now. We've got 2 days left until the eviction, and it's unclear at this point if Betty or Herman will be leaving this week. Come on in! Yeah! Okay, so I want to think, who would I keep? Well, that's a good question. I feel like I would want to keep Betty because there's already so many people going after Marty. I would want to take out a big competitor like Herman. As much as me, the viewer, loves Herman as a player, I love watching him on the show. I feel like I would want to take him out, right? I love Betty on the show too, so it's really tough.
But Betty hasn't really done much.
She hasn't done much. Well, that's why I would want to keep her around as a player.
A goat?
Just somebody who's on your side, not coming after you. Also, you can beat them.
But that's what everybody else thinks too.
I don't know. I'm just thinking if I was in there, I would want to keep Betty over Herman. That's just my opinion.
I think I'd probably pick Herman.
To go or stay?
To stay.
Really? Mm-hmm. Explain yourself.
Just because he can win.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a shield.
Okay. This is true. Those are good points.
Yeah. And he's fun.
I mean, they're both fun.
They're both fun, yeah.
That kind of cancels
it out.
But yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one. So let me know what you think in the comments. And I want to thank Jefferson Tucker, our super chatter today. Thank you so much, as always. We will see you all tomorrow for more craziness.
Oh, and Marty would be upset.
Oh. Yeah. I mean, that is a factor, right?
He'd be more upset about keeping Herman than he would about Betty.
Yeah. William Dang says taking out Herman is the best move for everybody except Moose. I agree. I think a lot of people would benefit from it because Herman is such a huge threat to win this whole entire thing.
Mm.
But yeah, I could see that. I think it's definitely good for Moose to keep him for sure. But everybody else, I feel like Herman's got to go, right?
I'm a loser. What can I say?
You're not a loser. What?
No, I mean, I wouldn't make it to the end probably.
Maricela says your Marty impression sounds like Dracula, and I love it. I'm not sure if you're talking about her or me, because I feel like I've only done it once, and I've wanted to do it many times, but I don't want people to be like, don't do his voice, blah blah blah. So I haven't been, but it kind of slipped out once. I think today actually.
Oh, so it's probably
You've been doing it.
Oh, Malty.
Cal Mana, thank you so much for the super chat. Cal says, yay, just caught you. Much love to you both. We are so lucky to have you.
Thank you.
You're so sweet. Thank you. I guess we're going to hit the road.
Yeah.
Got things to do, people to see. So,
yes.
Also, I just need to step away from Big Brother for a little while. My brain is really tired from today.
She was hating life today.
These flip-flops are really hard when you're a feeds recapper.
Yeah.
And I just felt like this, I was like working on catching up on what was going down last night. And I was like, yay, I'm in like a really good spot. I'm feeling good. And then I just like took a quick look at the current state of affairs on Twitter.
Well, that's screwed.
And then I was like, oh, now Summer's saying she wants Herman to go. And I was like, cool. Like everything that I just did is basically worthless.
So you feel like Bosco now? Cool.
Yeah, right? But that's just how it goes, right? It's how it be.
That's how the flip-flopper flops.
All right. So we'll be back for more tomorrow. Thank you all so much for watching. And until next time, much love. Bye. Bye, everybody. Bye.